everyone. Local 11 Magazine. We're here today with Cindy Hart, Karen Tomko, and Carol Roddy of the Bridges of Dodge County. These ladies are the driving force behind the very, very first sober living home in Dodge County. Start us off, would you please? You're the founder. You're the passion behind this initiative. Can you give us a little background and tell us about what your hopes and expectations will be?
Okay. Well, 4 years ago, my son passed away from a heroin overdose. And a couple of years after that, I was able to start faith-based recovery groups in Dodge County. That is called Lifeline Connection. The end of last year, about December 2015, Carol Roddy and another friend approached me. Would I be interested in helping get a sober living home in this area? And so I said, yes, I would love that, especially because they wanted it to be faith-based and to have our recovery groups in that home to help people really succeed in their recovery process. So we've been working since then. We've met some obstacles and overcome them, and we just keep moving forward, and we're really hoping to get our message out to the community and get people on board helping us.
So this is relatively brand new then.
Yes.
You've been months or less
Since
than?
December 2015,
I think so.
is when you approached
Yep.
me.
Mhm.
So, yep.
So less than a year.
Yep.
And so far, we've recruited some good people to help.
Yes, we have a 8-member board
Mhm.
that's working together.
And your next step then is
Get a home.
get a home.
Yes.
So you need a home.
Yes.
And what kind of home are we going to have?
Well, we would, we'd be happy with any home at this time if somebody wanted to donate one to us, but basically we're looking for at least a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home that would accommodate our house father person, the person who's going to be in charge of the home. He will live in 24/7.
So back me up a moment. What does this look like? So we're gonna have a home, and what are we gonna do with it? We're gonna have people who are recovering or struggling or trying to
Yep.
reemerge into society.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. When
What's the makeup of the whole thing?
when people, in this particular case, men, come out of prison or jail, they have no job, they have no transportation, they have no place to live.
So they're just out.
So they're
Here you
just, yep, here, out the door you go, and whatever you do, you do. And so we're trying to offer them an opportunity that they would have a place to live. And there's pretty strict guidelines along the way for living at this home, that they would have to get a job and so forth in order to be able to stay there. But it really is focused on the efforts of them trying to reconnect into society.
So this isn't a giveaway or just a place where they can just
Right,
hang out.
right,
They've got some responsibility in this thing as well.
yes.
Typically, the sober living piece has been the missing link for a lot of communities. The bigger cities are fortunate enough to have several that are run by either large corporations or sometimes by small churches or small groups like ours that decided to get one up and running. But the missing part of recovery, you can be confined in jail or prison, or you can be on the outside just deciding that you need to recover and go to treatment. But so many of these people have burned their bridges. They've stolen, they've taken things from family, they've made promises that have been broken over and over and over. And I need to mention that this is not just for heroin addicts, it is for anybody, male at this point, addicted to any substance.
Mhm.
So it would include addicts, alcoholics, and so on. So it's very important to help people learn how to live sober and learn how to be responsible.
Versus today, we've got these guys again, we're talking guys now, males. They're out and now they're just trying to navigate without any instrumentation and again, like you said, they've burnt some bridges, no pun intended,
Right.
but now we're trying to make one that that works and can take them to the next level. Is there something near Dodge County that might be similar that people would maybe recognize or relate to? Is this a completely different and new approach to some of the rehab and the?
I think it's new. Well, I know it's new to Dodge County. There are some in Fond du Lac,
Madison.
Madison,
Madison.
Milwaukee,
I'm trying to think of the name of the
Appleton.
one in Madison.
Serenity,
Yeah, and what's the other?
Jamie Crawford.
Okay, so there are several, like I said, in the bigger cities. But if you happen to be a resident of Mayville, Beaver Dam, Randolph, any of the other small towns,
The resources
There-
are limited.
there's no place to go.
There's so much that can be done in that regard.
One thing I think of is, people coming from jail or treatment centers, and they're going back into the environment they came from. So if they can go back home, it's the environment they came from, and they need to learn to live a new way, and they need to learn to live as a family, and that's part of
Something very different than what they
were used to. And so, that's part of what we're going to help them integrate into their life, is how to live in a community, how to live in a family, and how to do it sober.
A
With-
large
with-
part of it is that repetition, isn't it? And then that, we are all creatures of habit, so we get
Yes.
this ingrained in us.
Correct.
So now to disrupt that routine, to give them a little something different to look at and experience that might get past that spot.
Yeah.
So is the faith-based part of it, that's a significant component in your minds? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
yes, it is.
Are the other facilities that you're aware of that are running successfully have that same component?
Some of them do and some of them don't.
Okay, so it can work, but you
Yeah.
chose this
Yep.
Yes.
to have that strong component.
When we began this, I was not opposed to being a faith-based, but I was concerned about us being a faith-based home from the standpoint that working with probation and parole clients, separation of church and state is it's there. And probation and parole agents are not even allowed to force their offenders to go to AA because there is a religious component to it. So I was a little concerned as to whether or not this was going to be problematic for that population. Again, they don't have to be coming out of jail or prison. Anybody who wants to come into this home who fits the criteria can come into this home if they comply, I guess. However, after talking to Cindy and some of the other people that were getting involved, I began to see a huge portion of the faith-based community come out that are very willing to support us. And I think that community and that belief system is what's missing in a lot of our young population today. One of the questionnaires that is asked when you're doing assessments for the population of probation and parole clients when they come into treatment is, do you have a community such as a church or a spiritual connection or prayer? And I would say 98% say no, which is, it's kind of sad. Whether or not you are a practicing person of faith, it's still different from having no faith. And I think sometimes that's why they feel lost. So.
Well, yeah, and that's what that brings that community component into the picture. Dodge County's just been awarded. This may be a little off track, but maybe not. It's just been awarded or designated as a blue zone project.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Yes.
the research of the Blue Zone, author, one of the major, factors in the success of longevity is the community and having a faith-based relationships with people in their township. So it would seem to me that this would make sense
Yeah.
with what you're doing, and especially in this area. It's an important part of our our population.
And I think it's also keeping in mind that faith-based brings people hope. And there's a lot of people who are hopeless, especially as
Absolutely.
a result of addictions and the feeling of letting people down. And as Carol mentioned about they've burned so many bridges that they have, it can be a hopeless situation for them.
Yeah, very appropriate name. The Bridges. It took me a little while to hook it in. But
Well, it took us a
I-
very long time
I'm
to
not-
come up with that. I'll tell you.
Yes, we did.
They say I'm
we
not the
did
sharpest
struggle.
tool in the shed. But with again, if you look at the build of Dodge County, Beaver Dam, of course, but then all the little satellite communities, you guys have an opportunity to be a conduit there where you can hook into all of those particular, parishes or
Right.
churches, etc. Very good.
I would like to say that one of the issues that we've encountered already has been from people in the community is, yes, we absolutely support this, we know that we need this, but we don't want it in our neighborhood. And I think that, speaking for all of us and the rest of our board members, we would like to reassure people that this is not just going to be a flop house. It is going to be a home that is going to be overseen by a mentor, a person who lives there. There are going to be rules and regulations. There are going to be no drugs and alcohol allowed in this house at any time. The idea is to get these younger and older men to be good community members, to be good neighbors that you've walked in.
I get it. Does this facility, it's yours, does it require affiliations? Does it require licensing? Does it require,
No.
you could decide, I'm going to do this, and
Yep.
good for you.
Yeah. Cindy, do you want to talk about the Americans with Disability component?
People that are addicts or alcoholics are considered having a disability.
Okay.
And so that is in the American Disability Act. And then.
So does that factor into what you're
Yes,
trying to do
yes.
then?
And then.
How so? How does that play into what you're doing?
Not sure if I can explain it.
Well, Wisconsin has a statute of only allowing 4 unrelated people in a residence. Now, we all know there are several residences who have way more than that. Madison,
What about frat houses at college?
frat house, and
Yeah.
for some reason,
That might
those-
be different, but
They
No,
must
no,
have
but
a
same thing.
different.
I don't know, but so we know that this happens, but the concern is that when people find out that it is a recovery home, this is going to rear its ugly head. So we did research,
Yes,
and
yes, and it says that in the American Disability Act, that people, alcoholics and addicts are disabled. So, and it also says that people in recovery are a family.
so then they are related.
They are related.
So
and this
you're
will
good to go.
So,
and this will supersede the 4-person rule because
Yeah.
they are falling under the Americans with Disability Act. So
Yeah, see, I always thought the ADA was, so you could get,
Ramps?
up and down,
Ramps.
yeah,
It's
the
a
curbs
little-
and things.
that's
But
right.
it's
It's a
little more than
well, that's
that,
part
yeah.
of it as well.
Yeah.
It's a little more complex. And,
yeah.
yeah.
And and it's I guess if you looked at people with disability and you looked at what alcoholics and addicts have as hurdles, it's horrible. And I think the part that many people don't understand is they're not educated in the disease of addiction. And the question is, why can't you just stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
They would if they could.
Yeah.
They would if they could.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Nobody-
Nobody wants that old commercial that said, you know, I want to be an addict when I grow up.
Mm.
Nobody wishes for that.
This thing.
You bet.
Did we cover all the majors?
I think
Did-
so.
did we
I
forget
think we
anything?
did.
I think so.
Okay, what about closing comments? What would you for sure don't want to forget? Let's start with you.
The thing that I would like really to have come forth is that this is really something that's going to help the community. It's like Carol said, people have a tendency to think, well, not in my neighborhood, but people are already living in their neighborhoods, they're just not aware of it. And addicts, they're not like people who you can look at necessarily and say, oh, he's an addict or she's an addict. They know how to hide that fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's important that people understand that this is something that the community really does need to have.
And again, with an addiction, we're not stressing any one particular
Correct.
substance. That's
Right.
that's a big deal part of what
Yes.
you guys are doing.
Yes.
You know,
Any
it doesn't
chemical,
have any boundaries in
Right.
that regard.
Yeah.
It's just-
any
yeah.
chemical dependence.
Yeah.
Any chemical dependence.
Very good. Cindy?
Well, this is the start of our campaign to let Dodge County know that we're doing this, and we need money, we need volunteers, we need helpers, committed people that would be committed to help make this happen.
All of the above. So
Yes.
if you have an awareness and a concern for this sort of, please step forward. Yeah.
Yep.
Carol?
I'd like to thank you guys because you are our first step in really getting it out there. The other thing I want to say is we are all in Beaver Dam, and oftentimes not by purposely being done, but we tend to forget the small communities. Please, you are part of this. This is Dodge County. This is not just Beaver Dam.
Right.
So we know you're afflicted by these issues as well as Beaver Dam. So please step up. We welcome you.